What's up, everybody? Kyle Murray from FTN Daily here to talk to you about some of the things and some of the features that we have in our NFL Optimizer over at FTN Daily. We do have an optimizer for 3 other sports, including MLB, PGA, and NBA, as well as NFL, which we're going to be talking about here today. But it's going to be a pretty quick overview on some things that you can do within the optimizer. Great way to utilize the tool here. If you're looking for a little bit more in-depth resource in terms of how to use all these features, all these settings, you can head actually to the optimizer page, go to the bottom of the screen. You can find 5 or 6 different tutorials. I'll be rolling out some more as we get closer to NFL season here, but this is just going to be a quick overview on some things that you can do here. So let's hop into the optimizer here now. You can see I have the January 9th slate from last year pulled up. Now, this is actually the backtest mode. So you can actually use this tool to actually go back in time and backtest, build lineups on previous slates with our projections, with our ownership projections, all that stuff. Great way to get some practice. So that's honestly one of my favorite ways to utilize the optimizer, especially in the NFL season when you have the entire week off essentially. Up until Sunday, you have all this time to strategize and plan and honestly get practice by building these lineups, whether it be 150 lineups or one lineup. Great way to use this optimizer. But real quick, let's hop into some of the main features. Obviously here you can see all the teams with their team totals, game totals, etc. outlined here. A good resource for looking at teams that might be popular stacks or interesting stacks based on their Vegas implied team total. But this is kind of where the money's going to be made here, right? All of these particular settings. We have correlation stacking options. We have legacy stacking options, which is basically 2 different ways of stacking teams in your lineups. You have player limit options and then player combination options as well. So you can say, hey, if I have Nick Chubb, I do not want any of Kareem Hunt in those lineups, and etc. Obviously, you can brainstorm hundreds of different rules that you'd want to do on any given week here, but in particular, a handful are going to be very important each and every week. But there's endless opportunities, endless options with these sorts of tools. Obviously, you can customize how many lineups you want to build. You can sort by how much salary you want to use within those lineups, which kinds of players you want to include in your pool based on their fantasy point projection here. So plenty of different ways to tell the optimizer up front how you want your lineups to be built. Obviously, a big thing is going to be deciding how many lineups you want to build here. A lot of people, when they think optimizer, they think 150 lineups, but that isn't necessarily the case. For NBA, every single day, I'll pop in there and I'll throw all the projections into the optimizer and I will run one lineup. And sometimes I will use that one lineup, even in tournaments, GPPs. I'll use it in all kinds of contests. There's plenty of ways outside of just max entering to use the optimizer. So keep that in mind as well. If it's something that you're kind of afraid of or intimidated by with that 150 lineups, feel free to hop in here, use it with 1, 2, 3 lineups. And again, this optimizer is included in each and every package here at FTN Daily. So all the optimizers are included in the package, so you can kind of test them out here with that package there. Now, in terms of a little bit more in-depth rules and options that you have here with the optimizer, first of all, probably my favorite kind of underlying setting in this particular tool is the optimal mode versus the tournament mode. Now, the tournament mode is basically going to apply a shuffle to your lineups. So essentially, when you have 150 lineups or 20 plus lineups, a lot of the same guys here are going to pop up into your lineups. For example, let's take a look at some of the top projected plays here. You got guys like Jonathan Taylor, Taysom Hill, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. So for example, just looking at the top 2 guys, Jonathan Taylor, Kyler Murray, these are probably 2 guys that are going to filter into a lot of lineups. Now, instead of a traditional optimizer locking these 2 guys in the first 50% of lineups, it's actually going to stagger these 2 guys in however many percentage of lineups you have throughout the entire build. So that's one kind of in-depth way to think about building lineups within a tournament. You have a randomization setting, which is basically a variance tool to add to the player. So, for example, your Jonathan Taylor here projected at 26.8 points. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's probably not going to score that exact amount of points, and that's kind of where randomization comes in. It's going to account for some of these flaws in the projections because, again, no projection system is going to be perfect. If it is, please point me to that direction. I would love to have access to that. But when you're talking about variance and randomization, you can account for these kinds of scenarios where, sure, we have Dalvin Cook projected for 20 points. He's probably not going to project as well as Jonathan Taylor in the grand scheme of things, and therefore not have the same amount of exposure in your builds or in your lineups. But in those scenarios where Dalvin Cook scores 3 touchdowns, you definitely want some exposure. So using randomization is going to allow you to get a little bit more variance in your builds and kind of mix up some things and diversify a little bit throughout all of your lineups. So those are a couple of my favorite features for the Optimizer. And again, we have plenty of other ways to use it. Like I mentioned, some of these tutorials down here you can find below the Optimizer on the Optimizer screen, a couple of quick tools and rules as well for the Optimizer. And as always, if you guys have any questions, hop in the Discord, tag me or tag any expert in the Discord. We will get you up to date on any kind of tools or on any kind of adjustments or knowledge that you need to know about the Optimizer. And again, I'll be rolling out some more tutorials and how-tos within the Optimizer as well. And I know David Jones is a big proponent of using this Optimizer for showdowns, which he has been crushing over the last few years. So again, great chance here with the NFL season coming up and with this Optimizer being included in your FTN Daily package to get in on this tool, which I think is one of the best optimizers in the game right now. Obviously use it every single day, and I had nothing but success with it, so I like it a lot, and plenty of different ways to use it. I can't preach that part enough. I know a lot of people, when I first got started, I was like a lot of people intimidated by the whole mass entering thing, and I kind of strayed away from an Optimizer because obviously I still really like hand building lineups, but I would stray away from the Optimizer or any kind of lineup generator because of the fact that it was a little intimidating, because you kind of get the feel where, okay, you're probably wanting 150 lineups, or most people are using Optimizers to build 150 lineups, but that's not the case. Plenty of different ways to use it, and the Optimizer obviously has tons of different tools to take advantage of. So again, stay tuned for some more tutorials on how to use the Optimizer, but this is just a little bit of a general overview on some things that you can do with the Optimizer, which again is included in every single FTN Daily package. And again, all 4 sports here, NFL, golf, MLB, and NBA. So 4 sports currently, and I do believe we're working really hard to add Yahoo to the Optimizer for NFL as well, which I know is a very big thing for this year, not only for subs, but for me personally and a lot of the guys at FTN as well. It's a big thing that we want to get added to the Optimizer. Love to play on Yahoo for this upcoming NFL season. So appreciate you guys tuning in and checking this out. Again, any questions, find me on Twitter, find me on Discord at KamerDFS on Twitter. I think the name in Discord is Kamer, so find me over there. Shoot me any questions that you guys have on the Optimizer. We'll be happy to answer that. Appreciate your guys' support. As always, we will see you guys next time.